This is a survivability onion. The idea is the more layers of the onion you can keep intact, the farther you are from sinking. Or, from the attacker's perspective, these are the layers that need to be peeled away, one by one, in order to achieve a kill. And this is not the only version of the survivability onion you might see. For platforms such as tanks equipped with armor or some other form of passive protection, there's an additional layer, don't be penetrated, that goes between don't be hit and don't be killed. For fragile, unarmored creatures such as U-boats, however, the only things that stand between being hit and being sunk are blind luck and damage control. In this video, we will examine each layer of the onion in detail and discuss how best to keep the enemy from peeling them away. We will be playing with context visualization and the detection hint on, as well as with darker nights off, just so we can see everything that's going on. All of these tactics can be used with more realistic settings. They will just require more guesswork or experience. I also have these mods installed, of which decimal speed display, realistic ammo capacity, and sounds of war are kind of the base functionality starter pack. Most other things are more conditional or subject to personal preference. That's how I see it anyway. And if you're wondering what happened to sinking physics, automatic lights, the unstabilized periscope, the more accurate periscope reticles, and of course the TDC, those mods have just been assimilated into the base game for the most part, so the mod situation is always subject to change. Let's get back to the onion. First, I would like to address aircraft somewhat separately, as they are more of a large-scale strategic level consideration. So not being there, that is, avoiding exposure to detection by aircraft, means not being on the surface anywhere near where the aircraft are, near the air bases, during the day or in the late war once the radar and the searchlights have banished the night at all, right? They take the night away from you. Snorkels are good in that sense. Obviously, the radar detectors exist, which are very useful. The problem with the radar detectors is, first of all, they add a lot of workload to your radio men. And second of all, they're always crying wolf. They will often pick up radar signals from aircraft that are not going to detect you. It's maybe like a 50-50 chance, but then you end up being complacent, and then when the aircraft is actually going to attack you, you're not taking the appropriate precautions. So, here's an aircraft. It has found us with its radar. The issue with aircraft, of course, is that they move very quickly. So as soon as you see an aircraft, or if you detect their radar or whatever, you're in danger of being spotted, and they can close in very quickly and, strip away all the layers of the onion, right on down to don't be hit. The best way to preserve the onion, of course, is to dive. So let's dive. Diving in this game takes, with the fully specialized crew, takes about 40 seconds. But regardless, even if you're not fully submerged, by the time the aircraft gets to you, and there he is right there, even if you're not fully submerged, getting all the crew below decks prevents them from getting knocked overboard and all that. Diving with an unupgraded crew is quite slow, it seems. But diving always feels slow when you're in danger of attack. I think they're trying to make an attack run. We'll see what comes of it. Our estimated position. They drop depth charges, but they're shallow and way behind us. So, as you can see, diving, either to avoid detection in the first place, to avoid being attacked, to throw off their targeting, diving is the best defense against aircraft. But what if you don't want to dive? Okay, another aircraft has found us. I was not manning the radar detector, which is one of the problems with the radar detector. And he's snuck up on us in the night, already making his attack run. So, I will put the captain on the flak gun. Not on the flak Fearling, because I don't like using the flak Fearling because it has a limited field of fire. But as I said, the problem with aircraft is they're fast, so they very quickly, especially if you choose to stay on the surface, you're essentially throwing away all the layers of the onion right on down to don't be hit. Because, as was the case historically, anti-aircraft fire is not able to stop an aircraft from dropping its weapons. You might shoot it down while it's making the attack or immediately afterwards as it's trying to pull away, but the attack is going to happen. So you're going to get attacked. And the AI is already shooting, as they tend to do. The AI tends to waste ammunition, so if you want to conserve ammunition, you want to... Oh, that's interesting. We got a T-poser. If you want to conserve ammunition, you want to do this manually and wait until you see the whites of their eyes. He's turned on his lay light. So, and the other thing you can do, of course, is change your course and speed, throw off their targeting, and he has rockets as well. And that's how you shoot down an aircraft. His rockets missed, which is quite fortunate because the rockets are very good at knocking people overboard. They become common in the late war, like 43 maybe, is when you really start to see them. On the Wellingtons and on the Beaufighters, I have never seen a Sunderland equipped with rockets. Historically, you wouldn't care about wasting ammunition because your goal is just to throw tracers at them and hope that it messes up their attack run, intimidates them. Maybe you might get lucky, that sort of thing. Alright, so the first layer is don't be there, also known as avoid exposure to detection. And you might be thinking, you know, that's great, but at some point you're going to want to start sinking ships, and you're going to want to get into contact with the enemy. And that's true. However, there are ways to go about it that don't even put you at any risk of detection. So the first thing to keep in mind is that you are a very small target. You are small, you're low in the water, you're burning diesel instead of coal or fuel oil or whatever, so you're making less smoke. So it's much harder for escorts, or especially merchantmen, to see you. It's much harder for them to see you than it is for you to see them. Okay, so right now we've got this beautiful moonlit night. We are playing with darker nights off, again, I should mention, but this isn't too unreasonable because we got this nice moon, and if you look over here we can see the smoke of an approaching convoy. Can't see any masts yet, but they will be here soon enough. So, let me get into position for a surface night attack, which is very historical for this part of the war. Now we can see their formation to some extent. Actually, quite a defended convoy for 1941. Lots of escorts, but they're mainly little corvettes. And again, this is not that unreasonable, because I'm a very small target. I'm hard to see, and they don't have radar or anything yet. So now I'm only like 3 kilometers away from this corvette, but they are none the wiser. The detection hint has not even started to twitch. I think the moon has actually set at this point, which is why I can't see as much in this view, even though the sun is very clearly about to rise. So I need to make this attack and get out of here. Estimated impact distance 4.4 kilometers, which is just inside the range of a T2. Again, I'm using a T2 because it's an electric, so it won't give a warning. And now I have 4.5 minutes to get away from where things are going to kick off. That's the idea there. And there's our torpedo hit. And all the escorts are freaking out, shooting up their flares and whatnot. But of course, we are now almost 5 kilometers away and counting. They suspect something. Question mark there. But they have no idea where I actually am. So that is how you make an attack without ever even exposing yourself to detection. Obviously, we only sank one ship, but they never even saw us. The big advantage of doing this is that the AI sucks at reforming the escort screen. So as soon as you've disrupted, or as soon as another U-boat, which happens sometimes, as soon as one of your friends starts some shit and disrupts that escort formation, they are horrible at reforming the screen. Sometimes they'll just like pack up and leave, which might be because they're out of depth charges because they suck at using depth charges, but we'll get to that. But basically, if you do an attack like this and then circle back around to attack the same convoy again, it's very likely that a lot of the escorts are going to be out of position and things will be less defended. Alright, so it is exactly as I said. Some of the escorts are literally just leaving. However you want to look at it, the formation has been disrupted. So if I let my officers get some rest here, we go back in later, there will be far fewer escorts. I think there's another submarine back here somewhere. Most of the escorts are heading in that direction, including this guy. So the front of the convoy here is completely undefended, which of course gives us a very good opportunity. Again, we're not even exposed to detection, right? We're not even within sonar range. One of the merchantmen might see my periscope if I get to within like 200 meters. The merchants are not very good. There is a mod for that actually, that makes your periscope much easier for them to spot. Alright, well I've made an absolute klutz of this attack. They started evading again. Not because they detected me, but because the escorts back here started freaking out about my friend again. I think these will hit though. Yep. Okay, so I could stick around and keep trying to hit more ships. However, the other way of looking at it is that I have a really good head start on any of these escorts that would want to come investigate. So I can just displace, in Sniper Elite terms. I probably could have stuck around and hit 2 or 3 more ships before anybody even looked in my direction. It's possible that this is an escort headed my way. But the whole point is that they're not headed my way anymore because I'm gone. I'm no longer there, right? That's the whole idea. So, don't be detected. The second layer. This is where you're putting yourself close to the enemy, but there are measures to take that reduce the chance of them actually detecting you. Right now we're on the surface. The sun is rising. Obviously, on the surface, there are a lot of things to worry about. There's your diesel exhaust. There's radar in the late war, but also obviously they can see you. Now, this game does take into account whether or not you are pointed, like what direction you're facing. Right now, I'm facing away from the enemy, so an end-on view. You are physically a smaller object, so as far as the game is concerned, it's harder for them to see you than if you were in profile. That's also true for like sonar. But I would like to see just, for science, I would like to see how close we can get before we actually are detected. 4 kilometers? Okay. So, obviously, at night, that range will be significantly reduced, and you might actually, if the escort screen is slim enough, you might actually be able to infiltrate a convoy on the surface at night. But when there are this many escorts, that's not very doable. Now, of course, the best thing to do if you're in danger of being seen is to submerge. The number that I usually throw around for sonar range is about 2 kilometers. Obviously, it does depend on depth as well. So there's 3.5 kilometers between these guys. I think we might be able to squeeze through. If you're trying to squeeze through a smaller gap in the screen, you can obviously go deep. But I think we should be able to manage. The detection hint has not even twitched yet. And there you have it. We are now inside of the convoy. A wolf among the sheep, if you will. The noise I'm making is going to be indistinguishable to the escorts from the noises that all of the merchants are making. So, and the front escorts, of course, are no longer facing me, so their sonar is no longer on me anyway. So as long as I don't get too close to the rear escorts, I can even match speed with the convoy, so I can really take my time, set up some galaxy brain, solutions, and wreak some havoc. However, if you do this, if you infiltrate a convoy, even if you do it undetected, if you start blowing things up, you will then get detected. It's basically guaranteed because the escorts will be converging on you from all directions. So it's not really any way out of that, outside of one particular circumstance, which I will show you now. So here we are making another submerged approach. For anyone who's curious, yes, this is the same convoy over and over again. These are just different timelines. But this time we're going to do things a little bit differently because I've allowed the convoy to move into shallower waters, which means that I can introduce you to your new best friend, the seafloor. And I'm going to pass right under this guy to prove my point. Go to silent running, and I should take this opportunity to talk more about signature management, which I didn't before. So we're on silent running, so the crew's quieter, the gyro compass is turned off, we can turn off the electric dive planes, even though in the German technical documents, the electric motors for the dive planes are literally inaudible from another submarine 250 meters away. But that's besides the point. There is a mod that gets rid of the dive planes noise. Anyway, so lots of things make noise. Loading torpedoes, running the pump, the crew, especially if they panic, and of course the electric motors. If I go to half speed, for example, that's standard speed in American terminology, we gain 4 or 5 decibels. We're not cavitating because, as cold waters players might be familiar with, the deeper you are, the faster you have to go to cavitate. Below about 30 meters, it's actually impossible to cavitate in this Type 7. But if you're at periscope depth, you can cavitate at about 7 knots. The other issue, of course, is sonar detectability. You will notice, currently, sonar detectability is at 100%, because we're not hiding in the surface clutter anymore. However, pretty soon here, we should be getting to a point. Let me check the echo sounder. Which, this is another thing that makes noise. Ultrasonic waves are less audible, though. We currently have 35 meters of water under the keel. We got some nice hull creaking going on there. Now it's 30 meters. So we are in about 155 meters of water. So we're getting close. If we look at our sonar contacts, sorry, hydrophone contacts. Sonar doesn't exist yet, it's 1941. But it's so easy to say in this game, it's so easy to say sonar. Okay, we have found my old friend, the seafloor. In the manuals, it very much specifies, like, you shut the engines off, and then you trim with ballast, and you set the bow down first so that you don't foul the steering gear. But in this game, it doesn't matter so much. If you're going fast, though, and you have collision damage turned on, you can take some damage from hitting the bottom. Anyway, we are now on the bottom, which means sonar detectability is not even displayed in the detection hint anymore. It's not even a consideration. And this is a pretty good depth. The shallower the bottom is, actually, the easier it can be for them to detect you, either passively or actively, just because you're not as far down, right? And that's the thing with depth. Depth is like another dimension that you can use to put space between you and the enemy. Even when there isn't a bottom, you can still go deep, and it still makes it harder for them to detect you. And there's been a lot of talk about thermoclines in this game. I am not convinced that they exist. I've seen no evidence to support that they do. What I do know is that, generally speaking, being deeper reduces the escort's capacity to be able to detect you, simply because you are farther away in a dimension that they can't do anything about. Alright, so I believe this is an escort. This may or may not be. This is. But there should be enough interference now that I can start rising. As we rise, let's watch the let's watch what the sonar detectability says. Electric engines are now making noise, but that is the slowest gear. The slowest gear available to us in this game, which it should not be. Okay, there's seabed proximity minus 79% and falling. And that is maybe 30 meters off the seabed, it's gone completely. So, you also can, like, creep along just above the seabed if you're careful in extremely contested environments, if you really need to do something like that, like in Scapa Flow or in some approach to a port somewhere. Now, the reason why you don't want to go straight to periscope depth is that your crew sucks at depth keeping. If you go straight to periscope depth from deep, and you don't have an officer assigned to the dive planes, you will broach. And then they will see you. They might not in this instance, because it's nighttime. The other thing that can cause you to broach are heavy seas. There's actually a decent amount of chop up here. So I think I will assign... Oh, right, I only have 2 engineers. Okay, well, I'll just do it briefly. And also at this point, you need to remember to disable silent running and warm up your torpedoes and everything, which is a process that takes noise, that makes noise, I should say. Okay, now the other hot tip that I have for you is that if you hit periscope depth in the game, it takes you to 8 meters, but I find that 9 meters is a better, kind of stealthier periscope depth. Again, especially when you're popping up from below, so that you can avoid broaching. And there we are. Wonderful. So now Vector can start maintaining the torpedoes, and the attack can commence. They don't even know that we're here. And I should be able to match speed with them even. If I go to half speed, I will be cavitating at least intermittently, as I said earlier, but there should be enough interference from the convoy now that won't be an issue. So, here follows a brief tutorial, an inset tutorial, I suppose, on how to get that achievement for getting 3 hits on 3 different ships in the space of like 2 minutes or whatever. It's actually a pretty generous amount of time. We're sort of just ahead of this row in the convoy. This guy over here is at... Well, I hope it's not that far. Well, the torpedo run will be less than that, so it should be fine. Should be fine. Should be within range of a T2. This guy, right here, he is at... She, I should say. 2.7, 2.8 kilometers versus 4.8, 4.9. These are the true distances. The torpedo runs will be slightly shorter because we're ahead of their beams. And this guy, I'll be dropping back before I hit this guy anyway, so. But basically, a 30-knot torpedo, which is a type of torpedo you should be using for this, because you need to use an electric torpedo so they don't see it, so there's no warning, so they can't evade. A 30-knot torpedo covers 1 kilometer every minute and 5 seconds. So that's the number you need to remember. Every minute and 5 seconds. So if this guy is at 4.7, 4.8, 4.9 was my previous measurement, it's going to be over 5 minutes, okay? That'll be the torpedo run. When you're shooting at these distances, you do need to be damn sure of your data. I'm a little bit up in the air about the speed, but otherwise, I think we're pretty good. But yes, you want to shoot an electric torpedo, not a steam torpedo. They will see the wake from a steam torpedo, so don't shoot those until you're prepared for that to happen, especially in daylight. At night, it's not as much of an issue. And of course, you need to be concerned about broaching. This handy little UI element is helpful for that. And when you're here, do not send this message, okay? Just don't do it. I know the game really incentivizes you to be as chatty as the U-boats were historically. You don't have to, okay? I know it's $150. Don't do it. Don't do it. Wait until after the engagement, alright? Yeah, we're going to call it 4.8. Which is, it's going to be 5 minutes and change. So, fire that guy. And start the clock. So, this guy is at 2.0 6. And actually, I'm going to start dropping back at this point.
Entfernung 2, 6, 5, 8 Meter.
This guy is just over 2 kilometers closer, which means I will wait 2 minutes and 10 seconds, or maybe a little more. There's 2 minutes. Also, with the settings I have right now, it gives you this very helpful information, which tells you the actual torpedo run distance, which is different, which is often different from the actual distance. That's shit.
Los!
I was talking too much. Should be fine. That's one of the reasons to go for perpendicular shots, is so that the actual distance is similar, at least, to the range to target. The torpedo run is very close to the range to target on a perpendicular shot. So this guy is basically a minute, right? For the torpedo run. And 62. That seems about right. Maybe a little less.
Aktualisieren. Lage 6, 0.
We are currently on the same course as the convoy, so I'm just... the distance from 180 is the angle on bow. So we're going to want to do this at about 4 minutes, maybe a little after 4 minutes. Although the range is probably even less now. Yeah, I'll wait until like 4:30 just to play it safe.
Los!
It's okay. It's okay if this one hits later, because this guy has the least time to evade. And that was a steam torpedo. So now we wait and see how correct my estimations were. We got that hit. The 5 kilometer hit. Almost 5 kilometers. Feels good. So yeah, I got this one out a little bit later than I should have. Two hits. I don't believe you. Okay. Jesus. What, were you carrying ammunition? Holy shit. Okay. Works for me. Alright. So I haven't been detected yet, and I'm going to keep it that way by disengaging, because that bottom is still there at 150 whatever meters it was. It is very difficult to disengage from inside of the convoy unless you have ground to go to. Now you can change depth quicker if you're going faster, but then you're making more noise, so it's all a bit of a trade-off. That's the big problem with trying to escape underwater, right? Is it's like, well, you could get farther away if you went faster, but then you'd be making more noise, and then they can hear you from farther away anyway, so... Well... there goes that layer. Oh, we're down to 200 to 300 meters. I see. I see what the problem is. Very well. Found ourselves in a bit of a deeper patch than before. Well, let's see if we can get there. Oh my god, we found the seabed. Okay, let's pretend none of that happened. We never got detected, okay? Fake news. It's my bad. I didn't realize the seabed was gonna fall away to 230 meters. But we're safe now, as you can see. I mean, they dropped some depth charges, but they weren't on us. They were in the wrong place, which really brings us to don't be targeted and don't be engaged. The distinction might seem a little academic, but don't be targeted basically means you've been detected. Break detection before bad things happen, right? In this case, what we did is we found the seabed. When you don't have a seabed, it is very difficult to break detection underwater in this game. Again, I don't think that thermoclines exist. At least, they definitely don't in the same way that they do in cold waters, right? If you've been detected on the surface, you can submerge. That will break detection, at least momentarily, because then you'll have some time to move before they get there. But again, you just don't have the speed underwater to actually run away. You can run away on the surface at like 18, 19 knots, especially if we're talking about corvettes, because they're not that fast. But underwater, you really can't run away. You have to hide, like we're doing now. Here's an unfortunate little Isles class. This time, I'm going to deliberately get detected and targeted, but we will try to prevent the engagement. The only real way to do that is fight back. Velocity to 0, so that the angle on bow doesn't matter.
Gegnerfahrt 0. Knoten. Entfernung 1, 3, 2, 2 Meter.
Actually, why don't we try 2?
Bewässern.
Who cares? It's just for demonstration purposes. And again, obviously a T5 would really do the trick here, especially because there's nothing else for it to listen to. Just this guy. Oh, now they've got me. Now they've got me. They've completely lined me up. Okay.
Kurs 1, 0, 6 Grad.
Yeah, they weren't quite sure where I was. But now they see me.
Schussunterlagen aktualisieren. Entfernung zum Ziel 4,
Okay.
7,
Okay.
9 Meter. Los! 40 Sekunden bis Torpedoeinschlag.
I keep the crosshairs lined up. I'm not used to playing without stabilization. But the crosshairs are where the gyro is pointing. Okay, now let's
Kurs 1, 4 Grad.
It worked.
Feindliches Schiff getroffen. Torpedoversager.
Yeah, one of them was a dud. So it's a good thing I sent 2. So there you go. We were detected. We were targeted. Actually, I think he's still trying to drop depth charges. I commend your persistence, sir. Hats off to you. In the process of sinking. Still trying to drop depth charges.
Kleine Fahrt voraus.
And there she goes. Not sure what happened to the captain. He's, are they invisible at the moment? No, he's visible. Sitting at the periscope. So they're here, they're just not here. Curious. Anyway, now I will demonstrate one more way of fighting back. One more way of stopping the engagement by destroying the enemy. You can use a T5, you can use a down the throat shot as I just demonstrated, or there's one other way. You can beat him in a surface action. And there's a specific way to do that. You can only really do it with corvettes, Isles and Flower class, because of the way that they're armed. So they have this one like 4-inch gun or whatever up front, and then they got a few Orlikins, right? So what that means is that if you can get behind them, which is actually difficult with the Isles class, because I was saying you have a better turning circle than the escorts. That's not entirely true of the Isles class. The Isles class is the slowest escort and the smallest. It also has the tightest turning circle, which means it's a little harder to get inside of him. But I think, yeah, let's go for it. So, if we are behind him, then the 4-inch gun cannot engage us. That's the whole idea here. And you might not be able to stay out of that forward firing arc, but as long as you can stay out for long enough to surface and man the gun, then you should be able to. That was the depth charges exploding. With an actual proper destroyer that has guns in the front and the back, this obviously doesn't really work this way. So, let me unassign these guys so that they don't get knocked overboard. Because I have a feeling we're going to take a hit before he goes down. That's alright. They're a lot tougher with the realistic sinking physics. That's surprising. They are still shooting the rear Orlikin at us, which can take out your officers and stuff, especially if you're close. Back up now. Stay out of that forward arc, because they do still seem to be in the game. There she goes. Okay. Tougher than I thought they would be on the realistic sinking physics settings. We were undoubtedly detected, targeted, engaged, and hit, but we've managed to bring an end to the threat, restore all those layers without being sunk. And these destroyers are quite quick. So you have a limited time window here. Already almost at a kilometer. The arming distance on the torpedoes is something like 300, 400 meters, somewhere in there. Okay, 600 meters. It's time. And now, we should start turning. Because if that doesn't work, then we're on to don't be hit. And, it was a dud. It was a dud, because it hit at a weird angle. Okay, next layer, don't be hit. Your primary asset when it comes to this sort of thing is the ability to evade. You're a lot slower than these destroyers. However, you have a much tighter turning circle, which you can really take advantage of. You can just see my turning circle is smaller, which really enables me to just completely throw them off. But yeah, basically you just want to stay... Now he's dropping charges. Just want to stay mobile. Don't stay in one place. Don't stay on one course at the same speed. Keep changing it up. Throw off their targeting. And then they end up dropping their charges over there instead of right on top of you. So let's go ahead and... Now when they do drop depth charges, that's an opportunity to displace, right? Because you have all these depth charges creating interference, so you can go faster, you can displace. This would be the time to drop a decoy, for example, and then get enough space between you and it for it to actually be effective. Oh, see, now they're dropping charges again. And they are coming at me from this angle, if you could see. If they come at you from straight behind, then you're often in a bit of trouble, or straight ahead for that matter. You could be in a bit of trouble. They don't know how to drop a pattern of depth charges. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch Greyhound. The movie Greyhound very clearly shows you what a pattern of depth charges is, where you have the K guns on either side, or Y guns or mortars or whatever you want to call them, so that you create like a circular pattern instead of just dumping them off the stern in a line like this. Because when the depth charges come at you in a line like this, it's very easy to just sort of get out of the way, as I've done here. But as I said, if they come at you from behind or ahead, you have less ability to get out of that line. If they come at you perpendicularly, all you have to do is change your speed, right? Either put the engines in reverse or speed up or whatever. But the other thing is they just keep dropping them, right? They just keep doing it until they basically run out. And that's the other way that you can avoid being hit. You just run them out of depth charges. Here, let me help you out a bit there, buddy. Clearly you do not know how to plot an intercept, so I'm just gonna help you out. Yep, yep. Okay, we've taken damage. We've been hit. Things are real bad. Mostly up forward. Now, there's actually nothing wrong back here. But literally everything up here is broken. Okay. Okay. So, you might look at that and say, well, let's shut these doors then. Problem with that is that this is deliberate for demonstration purposes. We are in 4,000 to 5,000 meters of water. So we kind of can't compartmentalize, at least not in my experience. You could maybe get by with one compartment flooded, but like, man, the bow torpedo room is awfully big, and then you're down by the bow, which means moving forward takes you deeper, etc., etc. At this point, you either want to fix leaks, or you'd want to fix the power distribution board so that you can get the pump running, right? Now, I should mention I have the damage difficulty on easy, which basically means the leaks are less severe than they otherwise would be. Now, you will notice very rapidly, actually, extremely rapidly, we are losing buoyancy. We're already at minus 20%. We have almost 40 cubic meters of water in the boat. I probably should have blown the tanks already. The other thing to say is that emergency blowing the tanks is a much more significant effect than just normally blowing the tanks. However, it uses more of your compressed air. So let's go ahead and do that. See if that helps at all. We are free falling though, which is quite concerning. And I don't really... Actually, what I should do is back up instead of going forward because the bow is down. That might help us a little bit. This is an extremely severe case of damage, but I did ask for it. So, here we are. Oh shit. I forgot to do this. Because he can't fix the leak anymore because it's underwater. So we have to get him a breathing device. We are dropping quite rapidly. But at this point, we've done all we can. We emergency blew the tanks. Fix as many leaks as we could. This is fine. This has been How to Get Sunk in U-Boat. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. So something I failed to mention in terms of evasion is that in addition to changing your course and your speed, you can also change your depth. Because whatever the depth charges are set at, if you're able to either be over or under that, then they don't explode next to you. That's a little more reasonable. Damage up forward again. But the power is fine this time, so we can just turn on the pump. And Zap wants to help people instead of fixing things. And Beckon wants to use the hydrophone instead of helping people. So everybody's got their priorities mixed up. Yeah, that's this is a 1 by default. That should be a 10. Anyway. Alright, let's get Weber a breathing apparatus. So he can fix this one without being interrupted. Up to 20 cubic meters. I see you going to fix the bulkhead, Zap. Wrong priority. Alright, well I've allowed this situation to get a little bit worse than it really needed to. Oh, right, they don't want to use the dive planes anymore because they're more concerned about getting their feet wet than they are about dying at crush depth. But the important things are fixed. Let's get Weber on the engines for more. Oh, we're still going forward. That's part of the problem. Need the engines in reverse because the bow is down. Which I wish there was a better indication of that in this view or in first person, because it sure doesn't look like the bow's down by 20 degrees. But it is. But getting that angle of that water to be correct, that's like a whole nother level of simulation. Okay, they are back on the dive planes. So we can have Zap help out with that. And we should be able to hold the boat from sinking. Emergency blowing the tanks. Maximum speed. And extra help on the dive planes. Should be able to hold the boat. Problem is, it's a bit of a knife edge. It's like a positive or negative feedback loop both ways. It's like the shallower you go, the faster the pump works, the faster the tanks blow, and the slower the leaks are. But then the deeper you go, the slower the pump is, and the faster the leaks are, so. But like now, in this case, we are really starting to shoot up to the surface. Which is a problem, because if we do surface, we'll end up with even more leaks. Let's put the tanks now, which I know I only have 8% compressed air. I'm aware. It'll be fine, trust me. That's quite the angle we're taking. Okay, good. We didn't surface. Unfortunately, in this game, you can't, like, abandon ship and then hope you get picked up so you can spend the rest of the war in America. That's not an option. So you either have to go out in a blaze of glory or do some monkey business like this. But I think we might have pumped enough out now that we should be able to hold the boat even without any help from the ballast. By the way, this option does not do what it says. I've tried it. It's basically just a different emergency blow. But yeah, even with minus 20%, flank speed with Zap on the planes. We're holding her. Just about. And that's giving the pump time to work. That's the important thing. And as long as you're running the pump to do this, even if you don't need the speed for the force on the dive planes, you might as well move, because as long as you're pumping, you're making noise. So you might as well scoot while you're at it. Try to put some distance between you and this situation. And now at minus 10% with 20 cubic meters, we're able to hold it just fine, even without the officers. Again, fortunately, they don't know how to use their K-guns to drop a pattern. They actually do have K-guns. That's the interesting thing. But they're just, like, sort of dumping them over the side. They're not actually using them as a mortar to spread the pattern out. We're almost... Yeah, the boat is dry, so we can go ahead and turn off the pump. Go quiet. Go slow. And... Oh, Zap's got one more bucket. But now basically we just have to wait for them to lose interest, because there's no place to hide out here. So that is how to hold the boat from sinking 5,000 meters down to rest on the abyssal plane for eternity. These guys have finally lost interest. And the more experienced among you might be concerned about how I'm going to surface with 8% of compressed air. So let's try it. I don't have a snorkel installed, which should make this easier. Okay, but we are intermittently getting some Some air through the hatch here. It'll probably be better if I was going faster, you know? More force on the planes, forcing me up to the surface. That's probably the mistake I'm making. But, yep. So the tanks are not fully blown, but we're able to run the compressor to get the air to blow the tanks. So it's all good. The next question is, what happens when the bottom is not quite that deep? That's more like it. Oh, he has Hedgehog! Hell yeah, dude. He has Hedgehog. Let's go. Absolutely. I'm here for it. Let's just evacuate that compartment. Weber, get your ass out of there, please. And what are you fixing? Oh, that's fine. Dude, we got hedgehogged real bad. Now, oh, but then he messed me with the depth charges. Okay, so let's just imagine briefly. If this was a deep ocean scenario, first I need to fix all of the leaks. Then I need to fix the electric engines. Then I need to fix the dive planes. And the valves are also busted. If we were in the deep ocean, we would be fucked. There is, like, we have no forward movement to get force on the dive planes. We can't even blow the tanks, even though that wouldn't save us. We've got the pump. We've got the pump. That'll help, I guess. Fortunately, however, we are not in the deep ocean. Oh my god, there's a preserved hedgehog projectile. Nice. It's a few of them, actually. Excuse me. Fix the men, please. Don't listen on the hydrophone. Oh, god damn it. Who did that? Oh, you're fixing the stupid bulkhead. Okay, we're gonna have to evacuate this compartment. I didn't want to already because there's injured guys. So the problem, I should explain, is that these hatches, as they say, are watertight up to 10 atmospheres. This hatch is watertight up to 16 atmospheres. So this hatch is fine. These hatches don't hold at the pressure of the current depth, just barely. Which, that's the problem that we're running into here. We lost one guy. So 100, I guess 90 meters is where you would hit 10 atmospheres. So if you can be in an area shallower than 90 meters, then you wouldn't have that problem. And if you're deeper than 150 meters, then you really do have problems. If you're deeper than 200 meters, you're done because the pump doesn't work anymore. So yeah, this is the other way to survive. You get sunk, except you don't get sunk. Very much Dust Boat style, you know. And this is the situation where you can evacuate compartments. Things are bad back here, but as soon as the escorts are gone, I'll be able to turn on the pump, and we can get to work. Okay, the problem here is that I can't move. I literally can't. The engine room is flooded. So if this string of charges, I can't do anything about it. Alright, now for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do something that you should never do. This is a quirk of the game that I've known about for a while. If you go to X48 time compression in the map, any depth charges that are resting on the seafloor will fall through the seafloor, hit their set depth that their fuses are set for and explode. If there are depth charges sitting right next to you, don't do this. I don't think there are any sitting right next to me. I think there are some a ways off. But, yeah, so if we just go to X48, there they went. Saw the hydrophone contract and then go out again. That was the depth charges exploding, the ones that were sitting on the seafloor. So just keep that in mind. If you have... Actually, I wonder if these hedgehog... No, the hedgehog projectiles are gone. They fell through too. But they didn't explode because they didn't hit a submarine. You'd think they explode when they hit the seabed, but I guess not. Because they've got contact fuses. Anyway, that's just a little quirk of the game to keep in mind. You can do X48 right here. That's just fine. Get some weird shenanigans like this, but otherwise, you're okay. Just don't do it in map view, because then the seafloor disappears, the depth charges fall through it, and they explode. Alright, so now the issue is, this bulkhead is broken because we're too deep. We're at 11 atmospheres, when it can only hold up to 10. So as soon as I open this door, we're exposed to all of these leaks indirectly. And the other thing is, your engineers, like Zap right now, he's going to come fix this bulkhead. Use up spare parts to do it, of course, because that's how it works. And then it'll break again, and then he'll fix it again, it'll use up spare parts, and the water will keep trickling through. So, here's how we fix this. We just send Zap, and of course, being able to open these doors is a little bit doubtful. But if we close all these doors again, right, we just send Zap to fix these leaks. No, not the engine. And in fact, let's send Weber too. They've got breathing devices, so they can live for a certain amount of time. But as long as we close these doors again, we aren't getting that water into the rest of the boat. And doing this really makes me miss iron coffins. Because that has like you can't open a hatch if there's too much of a pressure differential. And then there's a thing to do to equalize the pressure, etc., etc. That mod was very interesting. Alright, and now we can just get him the hell out of there. So we don't use up the breathing devices any more than necessary. Because once the leaks are fixed, the pump is running, so we'll get there. We'll get there. And yes, I know at this point, like, there should be bad things happening to the batteries in this compartment. That's, that sort of thing is not modeled in the game. Yes, as you can see, he's going to keep fixing the bulkhead until the end times, because it just keeps breaking. And that just keeps using up spare parts. So fortunately, you can right-click, disallow, or allow repair on that sort of thing. Very helpful to avoid chewing through all your spare parts. A lot of water back here. Now let's just open it all up. Why not? Why not? It'll level out. Just gotta wait for the pump. This is when you can pull out Minesweeper or Solitaire or whatever pastime you prefer. Repair on all these. Some more. As the water levels drop.
Schott instand gesetzt.
Schott instand gesetzt.
Now we got upgrade points. Imagine that. This is a very good way to get experience for your engineers. Let's just surface. Why not?
Anblasen!
It's just like in Dust Boat. The boat is rising. We're gonna live.
Alle Maschinen stopp! Kleine Fahrt voraus!
We're gonna live. Why is nobody... There might be too much water for them to man the engines.
Aktuelle Tiefe 15 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotor.
Oh my gosh. Fresh air. At last.
Halbe Fahrt voraus!
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to not quite get sunk in U-Boat. Thank you for watching, if indeed you still are. If you have any questions to ask or any tips and tricks of your own to share, I will be more than interested to hear about them. If you would like to catch some of this action live on certain rare occasions, you can do that at twitch.tv/545454. Always remember to preserve the onion. And until next time, good hunting.